Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a great day today. I just returned from the Goodwill outlet and found this morning 4 vintage original Thundercats, 2 different Tigras, a Lion-O, and a Wily Cat. There was also a Wily Kit in the bin, but this woman grabbed it before me and she kind of got mad at me because I reached over to grab these ones, but that's kind of how it often is at the Goodwill outlet. But for $1.69 a pound, it's always wonderful to find vintage 80s toys. Also found a small little stack of sports cards, which is always fun to find as well. And got some like Avalanche cards, Joe Sakic, and a bunch. I'm not going to go through them all, but because they're not that exciting. And that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is the PSA submission that I finally received back today. I've got 2 boxes here. Not sure which one to go through first, as I'm not sure if they're always in order or not. But this was for the holiday special, where I believe it was, I want to say $13.99 a card for grading TCGs. And I've been a Magic player and collector since the 90s. Have never sent anything in yet, so this is kind of a first submission, and these are cards that have been in my collection for decades, and it's definitely got some fun, exciting sets for those of you who are into Magic, going back to Arabian Nights kind of era stuff. So let's, without further ado, let's have a look at what's in here. I guess we'll start with the big box. I'm not sure which side. Wow, these are tightly packed. Has the front. Let me see if I can figure it out. Probably should have pulled this out beforehand. Okay. So this is the top. Okay. Sorry about that. It's a pretty big stack. Let me just divide it up into 2 stacks, and we'll just start into it. And I'm not sure if these are still in the order in which I sent them, so we'll just find out as we go through them. So the first card is, okay, so I guess these are some newer ones. This is a Misty Rainforest from the Zendikar set. Back in 2009 or so, I believe that's when this set came out, or 2008, I was collecting 5 of each card. I would collect 4 as a play set for to actually play with, and then I would collect an extra one, which I would keep mint in a binder, as I was doing set collecting back then, which nobody was doing set collecting. And so these are not really my played ones, these are my set collecting ones, and I wanted to, throw in some newer cards that were, this is a first printing of Misty Rainforest, so it's, I don't know, there's definitely some I wouldn't say controversy, but people are kind of split on the idea of whether you should grade modern or more recent cards, or just vintage. I think certain ones you might as well, and some of these are so nice. They're packed fresh and just beautiful examples. So let's check them out. Here's the Misty Rainforest. All of these that I sent in that are newer cards to me looked like 10s, but we'll have to see. This first one gets a 9, so I'm guessing there's probably going to be a lot of 9s, but we'll see how they go. And the next one is, okay, so these are really out of order. This is this is a foil Judgment Wonder card, which isn't the rarest, but some of these older foils are just hard to really have in nice condition, and this one was packed fresh, and it's a decent playable, nice card. So let's see how that one did, and it gets a 9 as well. Here's Chromat. I remember opening this guy. It's a rare from Apocalypse, I believe. Just a cool card. Some of these you may question why I sent them in, but I kind of have, some of them have personal collection appeal as well. But we'll see how this one did. That one got a 9. So far we've got 3 9s. Not the greatest, but we'll just keep going. Okay, now this is an Alpha Prodigal Sorcerer. So there's a few Alpha cards in here too. I think they're all commons, but hopefully we did good on these ones. We'll have to see. And this one gets, that's just a 6. Okay. That one looked really good. So So far, we're not doing the greatest, but we'll keep going. It's an alpha, so it's good anyway. Here's the Sliver Overlord from Scourge, which is a pretty well-known card. And that one just gets an 8. Some of these I may crack out of if they're newer and their grades are lower. That one I would consider cracking out. But we'll keep going. It's another alpha card. This definitely has some left-right centering issues. Other than that, it's a really nice looking unplayed card. Hopefully, the alphas that I sent in were all pretty good, so kind of curious this one gets a 7. Curious to see how they're graded. So far, this has been pretty tough grader. This is also Alpha, Unholy Strength. This is one of my favorite commons of all time. Hopefully this one did well. We'll have to see. That one gets a 9. Happy that one got a 9. I would prefer it to be a 10, but, you know, with alphas, you can't. I mean, back then, no one was collecting these things with the idea that they'd ever be worth anything. They didn't know whether Magic was going to be around 6 months later. This one has some left-right centering issues. It's a Mesa Pegasus, also alpha. See how it does. And that one gets an 8. And all these I kind of looked under the light too to check surface issues, and they all looked pretty good. The Crawworm was probably the worst condition of all the alpha cards I sent in. It definitely had some edge issues on one of the corners, but other than that, looked pretty good. And it was always one of my favorite cards when I was playing as a kid, so kind of wanted to be indulgent and send that one in anyway, just to get it slabbed. That one gets a 6, so that's not very good so far on these alphas. Here is in Arabian Nights King Suleiman. King Suleiman is an interesting card. During the buyouts, when they first started, a few years back, I did a buyout of King Suleiman before anybody did, and bought a pile of them off of Card Kingdom and TCG and eBay, and ended up getting a stack of about 10 different ones and paid around $30 a piece. After that, the price went up substantially. This one looked pretty good. I thought it was gradable. Again, left-right centering issues and top-bottom on this one, but the overall condition was really good on this card. And it gets a 7. So far, things are not looking that great. Hopefully we'll get something better. Here's Alpha. This one was actually the best looking alpha that I sent in. I had high hopes that this one would be a 10. It was just spectacular conditioning. Looking at it now, I do see that left, right, it looks like it's the border on the left is a little bit thinner for centering. But other than that, it's a beautiful card. It's iconic, and we'll see how it does. Wow, it only got a 6, and I really don't know why that got a 6. I looked at that. That's probably going to be a crack out. I think I may have shown that, but I didn't see it. This is Unlimited Crawworm. Again, this was one that looked really good, and it was always one of my favorite cards, and it gets an 8. Next up is Natural Selection from Unlimited. I think I ended up getting a really tough grader on this batch, but we'll see. I'm glad I didn't send in my duels. This one gets a 7. That's kind of rough as well, as that's quite a valuable collectible card. Let's check what's the next one. Next one is Abu Jafar. This is Arabian Nights as well. This one looked really good. I had high hopes for a lot of the ones that I sent in. This one I thought looked really good as well, and it gets a 9. So we've got a few 9s so far, and I'm not expecting 10s on the vintage ones, but I am expecting some higher grades than the 8s and 7s that we've been getting. Here's a Repentant Blacksmith from the Arabian Nights set. That is a rare. Looks like it does have left-right centering issues, but other than that, it's pretty good condition. And it gets a 5. Wow, okay. Yeah, so some of these not too happy with. We'll keep going. City of Solitude. This is a very well-known card, good in Commander and other formats as well, Legacy and whatnot. But I think this is a card that everybody knows and loves. Kind of probably one of the more well-known cards from Visions. This one gets a 7. Next up is this one I kind of just sent in. This was always a card. This is kind of a personal one for the PC that I just have always had a thing with this card. So yeah, it's a Mirage card. Esmira Holy Avenger. It gets a 7. Here's Hall of Gemstone. This is a rare from Mirage. This one looked really good as well. It gets an 8. All right, we'll just keep going. These are definitely not in any order. Mystical Tutor. You guys all know the tutors. This one is from Mirage. This one, I was guessing this one was about an 8. It gets a 7. And Alliance's Helm of Obedience. This is a pretty nice looking card as well. It does have left-right issues. I'm wondering if I got hit harder because of the left-right issues. Because of that, I'm guessing a 7, even though it's in good condition. It gets a 9. Trying to put my mind in the head of the grader who's doing this, and I think he's pretty harsh. Here's an Emrakul. This card probably doesn't need to be graded, but I kind of wanted it. So I've got some iconic ones from throughout Magic's history, and this is the original Rise of the Eldrazi version of it, and it gets a 9. Hoping at least some of the newer cards that I kept unplayed and in top loaders or in pages or in get good grades. We'll see. This is a foil held found from the Return to Ravnica set. This was one I didn't usually play with a lot of my foils. I was a part collector, but more a player. But I would the more collectible, nice, pretty versions I would not actually play with. I played with the normal, regular versions and kind of hoarded away the nicer foil cards in top loaders, which this one sat in a top loader since the day I opened it, and it gets a 9. Next up is a Kozilek Butcher of Truth. I remember the day I opened this. Walmart at the time was selling these like smaller packs that were smaller than booster packs. They had like 5 cards in them or something, and they were like $1.25. And I bought one of those randomly, and in it was Kozilek during when the set was out, and I was pretty excited to get it at the time. And he gets a 9. Next up is my Jace the Mind Sculptor from World Wake. This is my unplayed version, and he gets a 9 as well. So this guy just does not like giving out 10s at all. Here's the pre-release promo foil of Emrakul from Rise of the Eldrazi, which I got when I did the pre-release, and he gets a 9 as well. Next up is Ayavugan. This is a foil, just a regular foil from World Wake, opened up at the time, and that one gets a 9. Yeah, I'm guessing the grader just does not like giving out 10s. Here's the Marsh Flats. I did the full run of lands from Zendikar because they all looked perfect to me. We'll see how they did. That one got a Gem Mint 10. So our first 10 is Marsh Flats. Nice to finally see one in the lot. I think most of the newer cards should be 10s, but we'll see how Hopefully things will begin to turn on this. Stirring Wildwood. This is foil World Wake from that same era in my set or in my collecting. That gets a 9. Next is Sword of Feast and Famine. Now this one I got in a trade. At the time, there's a deck that was called Cawblade that everyone was playing, and I traded 2 Stoneforge Mystics regular. They were World Wake, and for this card, which is a foil from Mirrodin Besieged version of this card. I think at the time financially, the guy that I was trading with got the better deal, but mine was, foil, so it was harder to come by. And I liked it and wanted it, so I was okay with being a little bit with having with him getting a little bit more value out of it. But eventually, I just threw it into a top loader, and now finally it's been graded. We'll see what grade it got. It gets a 9. Scalding Tarn from the same Zendikar set, and it gets a 9. Ooh, Veldegriff. Everybody who was playing in the 90s during the Alliances loved this card. This is reserve list. It does have one of the coolest pictures in all of Magic history. Had to get it graded for the personal collection, and it only gets an 8. Oh well. Let's keep going. Next is a Judin and Ifrit from Arabian Nights. Again, not sure how they're grading on all these. I'm guessing with the way that it's got left-right centering, maybe a 6. It's a 7. I've kind of lowered my standards with this batch, with this grader. Giant Tortoise, 7. Tanos' Coffin from Antiquities. Really like this card. I'm guessing he probably gave me a 5. Got a 7. I'm just going to probably guess 5 on all of my old cards so that I'm not let down. Antiquities, this is Urza's Tower. This is the best looking one of my Urza lands that I had. Just sent it in. It gets an 8. Next is Mishra's Factory. I believe this is the fall version of this card. It does look like it's got left-right centering issues. I think it's a 7. Pixie Queen. I think I've got several Pixie Queens in this lot. That was always a card I liked with the Quentin Hoover art. Rare, reserve list, Legends. How can you not like that card? It gets an 8. Spinal Villain, also a rare reserve list from Legends, and it gets a 7. So we've got a lot of 7s here. The Elder Landworm, rare from Legends, gets a 7. This is one of my favorite cards. Gwendolyn de Courcy from the Legends set. This is artwork that they really could not get away with making nowadays. We'll see how this does. Gets a 7. I'm just happy to have that one slabbed, but I'm not really happy with this grader, and I think that this grader was a little harsh on these. Here's another Pixie Queen, and she gets a 7. Boris Devilboon, rare from Legends. He gets a 7. And here's another Pixie Queen. I don't know how many of these I have. I think probably 3. 7. So I'll probably sell the 2 7s and keep the 8 then, or crack those out, we'll decide. Here is a Force of Will from Alliances. This one looked to be in the best condition of all of mine. We'll see how it does. Gets an 8. Maze of Ith from the Dark. This one was unplayed, and it gets an 8. Next up is, this is kind of a weird rare that no one ever thinks about, from Legends Life Matrix. That one gets a 7. So we're getting a lot of 7s on these old ones. Sandals of Abdullah from Arabian Nights. That one gets a 7. Oops. Island of Wak Wak from Arabian Nights as well. That one gets a 9. Wow, that's probably a pretty good one. A 9 on that card is that's good. Here's Majai Dujin from Arabian Nights, and he gets a 7. Bottle of Suleiman from Arabian Nights. This one looked to be in really good condition. Gets a 7 though. Let's see what else we got. And this is the Yedwin Ifrit from Arabian Nights. That one gets a 7 as well. Okay, on to box 2. So far, those have kind of been a letdown for the most part. I had, much higher expectations for those cards. I think the grader's been based on my previous submissions. I'm guessing that the grader was a little harsh on this particular set of cards. But we'll keep going. Here is Ali from Cairo. This is a great card. It's in pretty decent shape. It gets a 5. Wow, okay. So some of these are getting pretty low grades. Ulamog from the original Eldrazi, so this is a first printing of this card. He gets a 9. Here's the Verdant Catacombs from the Zendikar Land Cycle. That one gets a 9. Watery Grave, this is a foil version of the Watery Grave from Gatecrash. And it gets a 9, which is decent, but kind of hoping for some 10s besides the Marsh Flats. Here's Jace from Eternal Masters. He gets a 9. Here's the Arid Mesa. That one gets a 9 as well. Next is a Temple Garden. This is one of the Expedition lands. Foil. That one gets an 8. Wow, okay. Mox Opal from Scars of Mirrodin. That one gets a 9. Tarmogoyf from Modern Masters. I think it's the second Modern Masters. Don't quote me on that. Gets an 8. Next is Dark Slick Shores. This is a foil from Scars of Mirrodin. This is a really beautiful card. I'm hoping it does well. It gets a 9. Liliana of the Veil from the original Innistrad gets a 10. Okay, that one's good. I'll take a 10 on that. Next up is Ugin the Spirit Dragon from Fate Reforged, and he gets a 9. Tarmogoyf, he gets a 9 from Modern Masters 2017. Here's Steam Vents. This is an Expedition foil. I remember opening this one. That one gets a 9. Next up, almost done with these, is Sacred Foundry Expeditions. I believe I opened this one as well. Gets an 8. Karn Liberated, original from New Phyrexia. He gets a 9. I have Ugin Expedition. Gets a 9. Well, so we're getting lots of 9s. Here's a Junin Afreet from Arabian Nights, getting a 7. Last 2 cards. Here's Elspeth, Sun's Champion foil from Theros. This I was, back in when this card came out, I was buying immediately upon every set's release, I would buy a booster box, and I ended up buying, or this came out of my first booster from Theros, went straight into a top loader. Have loved this card ever since I opened it. We'll see how it turns out. Gets a 9. And finally, Wasteland Expeditions gets a 9. So out of that whole entire submission, we only got 2 10s. We got Liliana and Marsh Flats. Not too happy with that. Really unhappy with the Ollie from Cairo. That's probably the biggest letdown, which I'll probably consider cracking that open and a couple others and either resubmitting them or not bothering. We'll see. I'm glad I didn't send in my dual lands with this particular submission, but I think sometimes you get a pile of cards that it gets graded harshly, and I think this particular submission compared to my other ones and the scrutiny that I applied toward looking at surfaces under multiple lights, I think a lot of these should have done a lot better than they actually did. A lot of those 7s should have been 8s. A lot of the 9s should have been 10s. But anyway, it is what it is, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.